5:30. We are meeting in the boardroom on Legacy Campus, and we are glad you are all here. Welcome. It is the 17th of August, 2023, and we will begin with roll call, beginning with Jared.
Jared Black, Business Administrator.
Jeff Nielsen, Board Member.
Chris Corcoran, Board Member.
Kathy Christiansen, Board Member.
Terry Rhodes, Board Member.
Roger Pulsifer, Board Member.
Todd McKee, Superintendent.
Randall Bagley, Board Member. Larry Jepson, Board Member.
Thank you all for being here. It's fun to have a full board for this meeting. And Chris Corcoran will lead us in the pledge this evening. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our mission is to educate students for success in a changing world.
Thanks, Chris. Jared is checking for public input. And none of you qualify as public, so I'm assuming there is none.
You're correct.
Thank you. Thanks for checking. There is no public input. We will move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that any of you want removed from the consent agenda for discussion? Or if not, I will take a motion.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as printed. We'll vote on that electronically.
Voting is closed and the motion to approve the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next up, we have our action agenda. The first on the action agenda is the approval of the 2023 Early Learning Plan that Paula Hull presented to us 2 weeks ago. Anyone have questions for Paula? No, seeing none. Thanks for coming. I will take a motion.
I move that we accept the 2023 Cache County School District Early Learning Plan.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2023 Early Learning Plan as presented, and we will vote electronically.
Voting is closed and the motion to approve the early learning plan for the 2023-24 school year passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jared. Move right ahead, Paula. Thank you. Next, second on our action agenda is the TSSA plan board approval. Does anyone have any questions or concerns that have not been resolved by the principals of the schools that you read their plans? None? Then thank you all for your work in that arena. I will take a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the TSSA plans for 23-24.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2023-24 TSSA plans for each school in our district. Seeing no other discussion, we will vote electronically.
Voting is closed and the motion to approve TSSA plans for the 2023-24 school year passes unanimously.
Thanks, Jared. And Next, we have the presentation of the bond legal ethics policy that was presented to us 2 weeks ago, or last week. Was it last week?
It was last week. Yeah.
Hopefully, you've all had time to read it, and the updates that moved it to only one page this week, and that the superintendent is having no parties in this policy this week.
Assorted parties.
That's right. No assorted parties in this policy now. Anyone have questions or concerns about this policy that will rule our behavior after the next agenda
today.
item? Yeah,
After today, right?
that's right. All right, I will take a motion then.
I move that we pass the bond legal ethics policy.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the bond legal ethics policy as written. Seeing no other discussion, we will vote electronically.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the bond legal ethics policy passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jared. Thanks, Tim, for your work on that.
Thank you.
Here's the big one. The last thing on our action agenda tonight is the resolution providing for the holding of a special bond election regarding the issuance of up to $139 million of general obligation bonds and providing for related matters. And this has been presented to the board, information on this has been presented to the board in the last 2 meetings. And does anyone have any discussion, any questions that haven't been answered thus far? Everyone's waiting, holding their breath to see how you're going to vote this evening.
No, I mean, just a comment. I just want to thank Ryan and Jared for all of their work on this, and just, I mean, our task force isn't here, but it's just, represented countless hours on their part in preparing this. So I think I'm excited for this step.
Mm-hmm. Me too, and thank you, Tim, he probably has thousands of hours into this.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. And
Are you
your
getting
work.
time and a half, or?
He is putting in time and a half. Yes, thank you, Gary and Lorene also. All right. Seeing no other discussion, I will take a motion.
I move that we approve the resolution provided for the holding of a special bond election regarding the issuance of up to $139 million of general obligation bonds and providing for related matters.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded, and I'm not going to read the whole thing again, that we will issue $139 million of general obligation bonds if our public will vote for us to do that in November. So we will put that on the ballot and see what the public says. And we will vote electronically.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve a resolution providing for the holding of a special bond election regarding the issuance of up to $139 million of general obligation bonds and providing for related matters passes unanimously.
Thank you, everyone. That's awesome. Deep breath, sigh. End of our action agenda. We'll move on to reports agenda. Any board members have reports?
I have a couple.
Okay.
All right, so just a couple of things that we've done in the past. Just want to see if the board wants to continue to do these two things, or if you prefer not to carry on this next year. One is the monthly thank you that we've taken turns writing to our faculty and staff, and sent it to Jenda, and then she sends it out for everyone. What are your thoughts on that? Do you want to continue to do that? If you do, I'll make a schedule. If you don't, I won't.
I think it's a good idea. I would like to be a part of it.
Okay,
I think people appreciate it.
okay.
I do too.
Okay. I will bring a schedule for that one. And then we have provided an opportunity for schools to bring different groups in to perform if they would like to. It's kind of dwindled down a bit as we've done it. What I would suggest, if we want to do it again this year, instead of me taking a paper and having them sign up in September when they have no clue as to what is going to go on, maybe just give them the opportunity to contact me or possibly Emily if they have a group that they would like to do a performance here at one of our meetings. What, are you in favor of one way or the other? Think it's a good idea? It's fun when they come, and it does give some of the elementary kids a place to perform.
Showcases the talent.
Yeah.
I like it, but
I always appreciate it when they come.
yeah.
I like it too.
Yeah,
Okay.
adds a lot.
All right, I'll follow through on that then.
Thank you. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Any other board member reports? What do you hear from UHSAA?
Things are warming up. So they're actually, we had a meeting today, and they're having a difficulty finding enough officials for all the sports. Surprise. And a lot of it has to do with the
Behavior?
behavior. Yeah, people are just tired of it. And so they're investigating some measures to, one thing they're doing is they put all of boys soccer on probation last year, and this year they're looking at, instead of punishing everybody, they're going to address it on a system of, based on the number of ejections and that type of a thing. But they already last weekend had 9 ejections from, in the various sports, and it's very frustrating, I'm sure. But that's one of the biggest things they're having a problem with. So
It is frustrating when you're the referee.
on the good news side, the boys volleyball, I guess, has really taken off, and now they're having a issue of trying to find enough places for people to play volleyball. So
That's what I was going to ask, is that Utah-wide, that all of the schools are having trouble finding places for the kids to practice and to have their games?
yeah, and a lot of it has to do with there is time for people that they can practice, but everybody wants to do it in the optimum time, and so it's kind of a first world problem that we have, and we've got to learn to sacrifice a little bit, and because we don't have enough facilities and it costs a lot of money to build them, and so anyway, but yeah, things are going well.
Thank you for that report. Anyone else have a report? Okay, I have an internal audit assurance activity report that I'll hand to the 4 of you who don't participate on the internal audit committee. That was presented to us last 2 weeks ago. That I forgot to hand to you 2 weeks ago. This is from our internal auditor, Alan Allred, about an issue that came up at the end of last school year. Well, it didn't come up, but it was resolved then, and he wrote a report about that. So I'll hand it to you after the meeting so that you all can know that was resolved and how it was resolved.
It was found during the audit cycle, or just?
It was found, because he's the internal auditor, it was found during his testing we were audited by the state because of this issue. And so he also has been monitoring more carefully the high school activity funds, how they're used, how they come in, and that fees are spent on what they're supposed to be spent on, that type of thing. And so,
And only what they have said they will charge.
right. And
Is
this
what
is
they
a
charge.
finding from one of the high schools that he found, and the state also, it was one of the audits that Jared was required to provide information for last year, so.
Okay.
Anyway, I have that for you that I'll hand to you after the meeting. So that's my board president report, as also the chair of the audit committee. And this morning, the district had our new teacher orientation this morning, and I got to sit in for a few minutes this morning when all the new teachers were there.
How many were there, new teachers?
I was quoted this morning, approximately 110 is what I was told.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was fun to see there were probably 15, 16 men in the group.
Oh, good.
And only about half of those were brand new first-time to education teachers. So we have some really great veteran teachers who have applied and been hired by the district, and that was really fun to see. So not dismissing how exciting it is to have brand-new teachers, but it's good to have a mix of both.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was fun to see this morning, and the district staff did a great job with that orientation. That's the end of my president's report. I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Appreciate you highlighting the new teacher orientation this morning. There's something about that event that marks the start of the year. It's when the energy really starts to pick up, and I think everyone's starting to feel the buzz and getting excited for the start of the school year. Very grateful to all the district staff who have been working so hard throughout the summer to prepare for those new teachers, as well as Casey Hilliard and Bruce Parker, who've been working really hard on our facilities to get them ready. All of our teachers report tomorrow, so we're thrilled about that. And then Tuesday, we'll have a district-wide kickoff at Green Canyon, beginning at 8:30 in the morning, and everyone's invited to attend that as well. So we're ready to go. We're putting our track shoes on because it's a sprint from here on out. But it's exciting. We're thrilled by
Can
that.
I ask you a question? What is it that you're doing? Are our services needed in helping, or are we just going to be there to
Well,
brief?
if you show up, you'll definitely be called out
Okay.
and identified. I seem to have started a pattern if a board member attends. I want to make sure I recognize each and every one of you.
What about helping?
But in terms of the event, we plan that it's approximately an hour. We know that's time out of the classroom for teachers, and we don't want to increase their anxiety as they're trying to get ready for students who will show up on Thursday. But it's an hour for me to introduce myself and to introduce the theme for the district, which is Ascend the Mountain. So I'll spend an hour just kind of laying that out. Hopefully, teachers find it beneficial in terms of a direction for the district. That's our intent.
Okay, thank you.
Other than that, I do want to, two last items. I want to thank the board for passing the ethics policy. That will guide, at least in terms of district personnel, our conduct going forward as we move forward with the bond resolution. And I believe it's a really important piece as it's governed by state statute. So I appreciate the support of the board with the passing of the policy. I think it's the next several weeks will be really critical for us to get the word out about what this resolution means for our schools and for our students in particular. And so we have a rather aggressive plan moving ahead to communicate both to those inside the district, to our employees, as well as to our community, the facts about what we're facing in terms of overcrowding, the impact on all-day kindergarten, and how we're trying to address some of the issues with aligning our middle schools and high schools. And I believe this resolution is a very important step forward to address those things. So again, grateful for the board's support on that. The last thing I'll bring up is more of a question. As we considered bringing in student groups to perform and to highlight their achievement, my wonder is this: perhaps it may be beneficial to the board that we set aside 10 to 15 minutes, no more than that, in each of our business meetings for a school report. We'd put each school on a rotation where they would come in and talk about their current data, what their plan is moving forward, and some of the strengths and weaknesses that they're struggling with, and really try to focus in on what they're doing to address that. It may be informative to the board to see where our schools are at. I think it's a positive step for our schools to be transparent about where they're at and the needs that they might have. So that's something I would put out for consideration. Again, we'd put every school on a rotation, so obviously we wouldn't get through all of our 25 of our schools, current schools, in a school year, but we could do that over a course of a couple of years.
I think that sounds like a great idea. Is that something that has precedent in other districts that you've
Yes.
served in?
I have a template on what that could look like. We try to contain it, depending on the disposition of the board, we can, how much time you want to spend on that, I think I leave it to you, and we can curtail it to meet your needs.
Is it usually the principal that reports, or who reports?
It's the principal that says front and center. It has put up somewhat on a hot seat, but it's maybe an opportunity for some of the students from that school to come in as well. And perhaps there's a way for them to participate in some ways we haven't thought of.
I like the idea.
I do too. When you say business meeting, does that mean our first meeting of the month or our second?
I'll leave it to the board on where you would like it to fit in that schedule. I think of the business meeting as that second Thursday, but we certainly could put it in the first.
Do you feel like, in your experience, when representatives from schools came to do that they were, there was a nice balance between frankness and, I guess what I'm getting at is, did they just use that as an opportunity to talk about their wins, glossing over things that maybe were challenges, or does your template encourage them to kind of balance both?
It does. The template is somewhat scripted in that we want to see both. Tell us what the struggles are, and let's be honest about that. Part of it will take some coaching on my part to help them feel confident about speaking publicly about their challenges, recognizing that we're always, every one of us in all of our buildings are on a continuous improvement cycle. We're always trying to get better, and there are things that we can be working on or should be working on.
Did you also encourage, like, say, the community council or the PTA to be there at those same meetings when that school was assigned?
Certainly they could and should, but it's really been left, my experience with it's been left to the principal to direct that. But if that's something the board would like to encourage, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty compelling idea.
If it's like you said, if they are frank and open, then I think it would be useful.
Yeah.
If it just becomes a rote, scripted thing, then it's not fun for them and it's not fun for us.
Exactly. And so, again, I think we need to come from the perspective of how we're meeting the board's needs in terms of maybe understanding our schools, where they're at, what they're struggling with. And I believe with some coaching, our administrators will get behind that, can see that. So it may be something we try, and if it isn't meeting the board's needs, we obviously can pull back from that.
When would you like to start?
When would the board like me to start with that? Would you like me to put together perhaps a schedule starting in September? And we'll develop a rotation.
Sure.
That balances between elementary, middle, and high school. And then we'll start then.
Yeah.
So if we do one in September, does that give them enough time to actually have the information, or would they go back to last year?
They would pull the most current data that they have, which would likely be last year's data.
Okay.
And usually every principal, I mean, they could speak from the cuff on what their most pressing needs are, and what they're doing well with, and all of that. All the principals know that.
Well, and with the rotation, it'll give you a snapshot of the timing of everything. Like, someone may report in September about maybe some startup problems they had, and later in the year, it may be something different, so we'll get a good picture of what's going on.
Yeah.
I'll move forward then.
All right, thank you.
That's the end of my report.
All right. Anything else from anyone? Anything from our non-public people who are here? All right, thanks for coming, Matt. Thanks for coming, Ryan. Sorry, you are here.
And Steve.
And
Steve for coming.
Stephen. But I feel bad because Ryan got here just like a few minutes ago, and you're here on a record length of time for a board meeting here.
My apologies for being late.
Well, we heard that there was an accident somewhere along the route here, and that it might be holding you up. So we went ahead without you instead of waiting for you. Thank you for being here and for your support. We appreciate all that you and Matt have done to help us with this bond preparation. Seeing